Hi, today we're going to be conducting an investigation to answer the question of how much sunlight do potatoes really need to grow. Now, I don't know about you, but I sometimes forget or lose a potato in the back of a cupboard or in the back of the drawer where you keep the potatoes. And when you do find them again, you discover that some of them have started to sprout, like these three right here. Now, as far as I know, they've not had any sunlight or water in the back of this dark cupboard. So I'm curious to find out how indeed have they started to sprout, and would a potato continue to grow if it didn't have any sunlight? So before we start anything, we need to predict, based on from what we already know, predict what we think the outcome of our investigation is going to be. Another word for prediction is hypothesize. So we can come up with a hypothesis prediction into what we think is going to happen. So we have our three different conditions for our potatoes to grow in. So one's going to be in full sunlight, so that's where the potato has sunlight for most of the day. The second condition is going to be where our potato only has sunlight for half the day, so it might only be in the morning or maybe just in the afternoon. And our third condition is going to be where our potato doesn't have any sunlight. We're going to have a box over top of the potato seed to ensure that there's no sunlight reaching the potato. So in order to conduct this investigation, we're going to need some equipment. So if you do want to follow along at home, please do. If not, you can do this alongside me as we go here. So I'm going to need 3 potatoes. We need to make sure that they are all potatoes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. So we need to make sure that they're all potato seeds. We don't want to have one apple seed, one pumpkin seed, and one potato seed, because they're all going to grow a little bit differently because they're different plants. So we have our 3 potatoes, and they're all the same type of potato, and they all came from the same bag of potatoes that I bought at the shop and were then forgotten about in the cupboard. Then I have my 3 identical pots. Now, we wouldn't usually grow potatoes in pots, but for our investigation, we're going to be using pots this size. And we have the same amount of earth inside of each pot. And when it comes to watering our plants, we're going to do that at the end. I have some water here. All right. The box that I'm going to be putting on top of that one potato pot I have here, but we'll look at that shortly. Right. So now, to make sure we are following the scientific method, and this is the method that scientists use to conduct their tests, their investigations. The most important thing to remember when conducting an investigation following our scientific method is to make it a fair test. And what that means is that our investigation is actually testing what we want it to test, what we intend for it to test. So with this particular investigation, growing potatoes, there's a lot of different factors, a lot of different things that could affect how our potatoes grow. All these different things, there's a scientific term for it. We use the term variable. And you can see within the word variable, we have that root word vary. So think variable, things that can vary, things that can change. So with our potato investigation, we want to investigate the effect of the amount of sunlight on our potatoes' growth. So we're going to call that one thing that we want to test, that we want to test and measure, our independent variable. Yeah, it's independent, it stands off on its own. And that's the amount of sunlight that our potatoes receive. Yeah, whether it be full sunlight, half sunlight, or no sunlight. Then we have what we call the dependent variable. The dependent variable depends on the independent variable. And this is what we're going to use as our measure. So to measure the effect of our independent variable, the amount of sunlight for our potatoes to grow, we're going to be using the dependent variable to measure the plant's growth, the height of its growth. Everything else, all the other conditions, all the other variables, we want to make sure we keep the same. That's what's going to make it a fair test. That we're fairly testing that one particular variable, the amount of sunlight, and its effects on our plant's growth. We want to kind of isolate, to set those variables apart and keep all of our other control variables the same. For instance, the type of seeds that we're using, the size of pot that we're using, the amount of soil in our pots, the amount of water, and the frequency that we water our plants. We need to keep all of these variables the same. And that's what's going to make sure that we are conducting a fair test. So, what we're going to do is we'll get started. Within each of our pots, I have already put soil, so that's all that's in there. I'm going to be just kind of nuzzling in, digging a bit of a hole for my potato seeds to go into. And I'm going to make sure that the little sprout is facing upwards, because that's what's going to be going in search of sunlight. Even if our potato doesn't have any sunlight for that one condition, it would still be searching upwards to where the sunlight would normally be. So I'm going to cover that up. There we go. I don't need to pat the earth down too hard, because when we water them, the water will also compact the soil down. So I have my second hole. I'm going to place my potato in there and then just cover it. I don't need to have that much soil on top of the potato. And my third potato's in there. Nuzzle that in and cover it up. There we go. Now, again, making sure that my test is fair, I'm going to give each of my potato pots 2 cups of water. Now, I've measured this because I don't want the amount of water to impact how any of these potato seeds grow. So I'm going to make sure every time I water them. I'll probably water them every 2 days. But when I do water them, I'm going to give them the same amount of measured water, and I'm going to water them at the same time. Yeah? So making sure that my control variables all stay the same.